Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope y'all are doing great. I'm doing okay. I am going to be making some cards. We're going to make some cards together, and this is going to be for Subscription Thursday. I'm using the Unity Stamp kit. This is from their May 2017 kit. Um, we've used this one before. It looks like I've been beating it up, but I really haven't. We used this lady and sending a hug in a mug last time. Today we're going to use these little flowers. I've already cut the paper out, and I thought I already started the video, and I thought that I had paused the video. No, to save time. I look up and it's still recording. So it's one of those days already. So I already have it cut down, and we're going to make an A2 size card, and we're going to use our Tim Holtz stamping platform. Now, I'm not going to prime this, but I do want to use the archival ink in black soot. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to stamp them out and come back. Okay, so I stamped out 4. I want to be completely transparent. I did use my black soot on one, but you know how black soot, it looks black, but it looks kind of oldish looking. So I stamped it out, and then I went on top and did the Ranger on here. So you can tell the difference. I think this probably was the second one I stamped out with just plain Ranger. And I only inked it up twice versus once. I don't know what's going on with this phone of mine. Okay, so what I am going to do, I have a sentiment. I have this card all planned in my head, right? Can you believe that? First time for everything. I know. Oh no. So I'm using an assortment of alcohol markers, the Soho Studio, and the other markers that I did a review on, as well as the Ohuhu. So in my head, what we're going to do is we're going to color the bottom. And I'm thinking that this person has these flowers in the window. And although they all look like sunflowers, we're going to color them different colors, okay? All like light shades of pink, I think, maybe. Also, I always struggle with like getting a good stamp or a good crisp stamp when it's a lot of like drawing on there. So if you want to make sure that you have a good image, you can zap it with some heat to make sure your ink is down. Let it dry for a few seconds. Blow your breath on there, wave it like I just did, or just give it some time and come back. Since this was the first one that I stamped out, I'm hoping that this will be okay. And I wanted this to be kind of brown, so kind of a little bit on the muted side, but I think we're going to go with this olive green. So we're just going to color this in. That way the other things can dry some. I'm not sure if you want to watch me color all 4 of the images, so I will not bore you with that one. I'll just do one and make the card, and then I'll go back and do my thing. So what I was thinking at first, I was like, I wanted to get some sky blue water, like clear blue water, but I had got the big roommate some flowers in January or February now, I can't remember. Even though we're home, the days and the year is going by fast, which I'm quite sure we can all agree is a good thing, but some of the time it's just kind of wasted now from plans and things like that people had going on. And, I had saw something that was very interesting. I guess someone had put Easter was canceled, and someone's like, Easter is not canceled. And I can't remember what they wrote. And it's true, real Easter isn't canceled. The reason why we celebrate Easter isn't canceled. The commercialization Easter bunny is not going to take effect. It's not going to be, I mean, some people probably do. People are different, and they're going to do whatever they want to do, right? So I'm sure some bodies out there are doing everything that they're saying don't do. They're still doing. So I like that. What do you think? Hopefully you like it too. So then when I was picking up the colors, I was like, okay, let me find a color I can color this in. I was like, why don't I just color the bottle? You see where I'm going with this? Color the bottle the color that I really, really want it to be. and move on from there. Now the thing is, I'm not great at shading and coloring and blending, so we're gonna try to make this work. Because if that was the case, that you could have just put empty bottles if you want to color them all in. So what I want to do is I want to color these in, and I like these Ohuhu markers. Now some of them, a lot of people have reviewed these markers, a lot of people. And I think the Ohuhu brand has rebranded or restructured their numbering system from the videos that I've watched. So if you have older ones, number 77 may be this color. Or, if you have a newer one, it may be this number. So a lot of artists, like people that swear by Copics, have kind of, because some artists use this and they're like, I don't, if you're a beginner artist, why not use something and then go into it with a little bit more understanding that once these markers dry out or they get bad, I will purchase newer, a newer marker. If that's what, you choose to do. Some people are like, I'm not getting paid to color with Copics. Why buy them? And I totally understand that too. Like if you're not a certified Copic colorist and you're not giving classes and et cetera, then I get it. I don't know what the perks are for people that actually are certified Copic colorists. I would assume, even though, assumptions is not always good, I would assume, though, that they get free Copic stuff, maybe. So maybe people that are budding or aspiring to be Copic colorists share with Copic to let them know what they can do already before they even, get fancy into it. So now we're going to use, that was 77. I'm going to use this green. I did a little swatch. Yeah, I did some swatches already to see. Now right here it's going to be real, I don't know yet. Every time I color something, I try to take the same mentality, but always, if I've learned a new technique or a new approach to it, I'll try that. I have watched people color watercolor and color bottles in with water, and they do an amazing job. Brandy, on the other hand, is kind of just like, do. Let's see if this will work. And I don't mind doing that. I think that when you create from the heart, like when you're crafting and doing things, it's on, as long as you're happy. Because I've seen people create some amazing stuff and they're like, oh, I don't think it's any good. I'm like, it's amazing. Whereas other people have created things and they're like, look at this fabulous masterpiece, and it's like a piece of macaroni, So, to each their own when it comes to art. Modern art, I think it's one of the things that people always try to figure out. Like, I'm not sure if it's a commercial or a television show where they were standing next to somebody that was sitting there. It was like, look, this is art. And that person had just sat there a long, long time, and then they got up and it was like, oh, we thought you were at peace. Like, what? When I was in Paris, which was a long, 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 long time ago now. So I don't know. It was before everyone went to the Euro. They still had French francs. And we went to the Louvre. And it was amazing. Some things they have roped off where you can't just go up and look at it. And other things they have where you can just walk up to it, not touch it, but you can get a good look. I'm going to color this. I think I want to color all this in because I feel like this is the bottle. You know how some bottles have like a thick portion at the end or the bottom of it? Now, again, I don't know what I'm going to do to the inside. I think I have an idea, but we'll see. So yeah, it was, it's interesting to see everyone's take on art, I suppose. And then it's always interesting to see your take on art, because some people are amazing and I feel like they need that little boost of confidence to get them through whatever it is out of their, I don't think I'm good. And then, I've watched enough television in my day. I'm not sure if you ever watched Law and Order, um, Criminal Intent with Gorman Eames, and then they got The Fly on there. I'll never get past seeing him as The Fly. You know, he's been on a few shows, and he always kind of plays like a quirky. Oh, you see, I colored the wrong thing. Not paying attention. That's okay. You know, he's always kind of like a little quirky weirdo in some of the things that he's in. And right now he's doing those rent commercials. Like you can, I think it's rent.com. You can go and find a place to live. But anyway, they were doing an investigation. I digress. They were doing an investigation, and this bottle kind of looks empty if you didn't see that line, right? And the artist there, they was living like in an abandoned parking garage situation. I don't know. And you know, it was a lot of artists there. And the bad thing about artists, in my opinion, is they steal other people's artwork. And especially on that show, uh, they were someone had stole some artwork, or they were jealous that one person was dating another girl in a little camp or whatever, and they got someone died. You know, they killed them. And I was just like, I love that show. First of all, that was my favorite, one of my favorite shows. That CSI, the original one, you know, in Vegas, loved it. That always made me want to go to Vegas and see if they were taping the show. You know, I know they don't always tape in Las Vegas, and they have sets and things like that. But I remember watching a few, you know, posts like, look, they were in this place doing this. What I just find it very interesting. Um, but then I stopped watching it when they started changing out the characters and things like that. And then they eventually took it off the air. I think they took it off the air because Lawrence Fishburne was in there for a little while. I was just like, oh, okay, this is different. I had pulled out a color and I didn't like that color. So I'm looking for another color that's going to make me happy. Now, I'm not sure if you've seen, I don't know if Michaels has it anymore, but I think it was Michaels. No, it's an Inca Dinka Do stamp. So, you know, it's like for Halloween, they have that little, it's like a vial of poison or whatever. It's a green little stamp. I've used it before. It's such a pretty color on that stamp. Even though I didn't color mine green, I don't think. Because I can never get the color that the people do. But I like the stamps, some of the stamps, you know, the older stamps, even some of the newer stamps, but mostly older stamps are specific brands will have an image colored up so you can see what you can do. Because I promise you, when I first started stamping and I would see all those colors on there, I was like, how are they getting all these colors on those stamps? They're coloring them up, Brandy. I never knew that, you know. I was learning at the time. All right, so I did not color this in. Okay, so I decided that we're going to use some pencils and because I tried a few techniques that I thought would be kind of okay, but I didn't like how they came out. So what I have decided to do is use some color pencils that's a little the same color or a little bit lighter than the color pencil. And then I'm going to use my finger to do a little bit of blending. Right. Even though I don't think these color pencils are like blending pencils, so to say, they may be. I do think that this technique is going fairly well. Did on a few of the cards already, so that's the goal. So on this one, I decided that, well, on the ones with the ripples, I decided that the water is at the top and you can't see it, where it's no ripple in this one and that one. I feel that those are more of a true clear container versus, you know, highly tinged glass. You know, some glasses are truly just that solid color. And I think that would help my stress level of trying. I don't know what's going on with that operator. And I also feel like whoever drew this, you know, the flower has sunk inside of here and it's just too much coming out. So that's why you had that little water drip. But I chose not to put the little water drip on there. So you just do that and then you just rub it in. Some of them look better, darker. No, some of them look darker than the other ones. And I still haven't decided what I'm going to do on these. Some of them I colored in. I got too carried away and just colored it in. And I was like, oh, we'll just leave it. But I do feel like that could have been just clear water. But I feel like you know, when you look at things, sometimes they have different reflections can cause things to look different. This is not the same pink, but that's okay. I don't think it's the same pink, at least. No, I think it's a little bit darker than the original pink that I did. So that's what we are currently coloring. You know, for the collaboration 10 on the 10th, that is why I do not, I've been trying to avoid doing a lot of stamping and coloring, but I ran into it the last 10 on the 10th. So yes, because you know, I do all my cards in assembly, and maybe that's where I'm failing at. I should do them not in assembly line. I should do them differently. But because I do them all in assembly line fashion, I feel like it goes quicker like that. You know, you get all the card shapes, you cut off the images, you do this, you do this. But I just feel like sometimes it just takes forever, especially coloring. If you color 10 images almost the same, I try not to color everything the exact same. I try to vary it up some, just so it gives it a little bit like, oh, it looks the same, but it's not. So you can see how it's like tinged now. And I did do that with this one as well. So let's see if this is a good color. Now I just pulled out some color pencils. I didn't even check to see if they were gonna truly match up. I was just hoping, and so far so good, right? Okay. This blue I may have a problem with. I had to have blue. Just had to have blue. Okay, so this is our last one, and I did find a color. It's too dark, too blue, too purple, but it's going to work. So you can see the color. A little bit too dark, right? That's okay. We'll make it work. And for this, I'm just using the up and down technique. For these right here, I did a side to side or a circular motion. Okay, so I got it colored in. Pretty decent, I guess. And then I just take my finger and I rub it. Now you could take, you see, these Spectrum Noir Colorista pencils, I'm not sure what the formula is, if it's heavily pigmented or not, but what I was going to say is you can take, you know, what is it, mineral something? I think that's what they use to color, to make their images pop more vibrantly. And then I just take the eraser after I've colored and smeared and smudged it and erase some of the color off. And that's how it looks. All right, so I took a sheet from the Maggie Holmes paper pad. You know, I'm doing that collaboration. So that's my desk. These are Michael's Hot Buy card bases. And I am going to put this right on top. So even though the person can't see that these are clouds, when I first decided to use this stamp, I was like, oh, maybe I should do the background in, you know, but I'm not. So this is how it's going to look. And it should be right on the money almost. because I went back and I resized them. So this is how it should look. I think I'll cut this down some more just to let that show out just a little. Not show out in a bad way, but show up, I should have said. So I'll be right back. Now I do need room still on the front of this because I am going to put a sentiment. Okay, so here we are, we're back. I did cut it down. Some of you know I first cut off the top portion. I was like, oh no, you can cut off the bottom versus the top. And now 3 of them look kind of the same and one of them is jacked. And, you know, as I was doing, I was like, you just cannot leave well enough alone, can you? You cannot leave well enough alone, because I needed that white space to put my sentiment on versus the brown space at the bottom of the card. But I think we'll be okay. So right now I'm just using some wet glue to glue this on, and I chose to do the wet glue first versus last because I'm going to take this whole front and glue it on the card base. And I feel like the wet glue can bow some because this glue does make your paper bow. But once I put down 1,000 strips of tape, we'll be good to go. So that is what we are doing right now. And I made some cards yesterday and I ended up gluing the pieces down backwards. So don't be like me. Okay, so this is a prime example about putting them upside down. All these look exactly the same except for this one. I had put them all with the corner facing up, and this one was here to sabotage me, I tell you. So I got everything glued and taped down. You know, before I go any further, I had contemplated put like a strip of something here, or you know, something, and I just decided not to. I was thinking maybe a strip of washi. Next time if I do something like this, I may put a strip of washi down. But this time I didn't, even something right there, because the cards are not all the same size. So that's always, you know, the card fronts are not always the same size. So that's always like an issue for me. And even though I don't have that little tool that I told you about the last time I was making cards, I like to try to put the card front and base together just to kind of eyeball it to see if Brandy can pull off that Hail Mary. Sometimes I can, and then sometimes I can't. All right, so when you do it, make sure that I always just open it like this and always look at it. This was upside down. So, and then what I like to do is, because this is primarily the exact same size as this, meaning the card front is the exact same size as the card base, I always just like kind of lay it to the side where I can see it. And then I'll put it almost to the edge and I'll just look at it, give it a quick eyeball. So you can see right here, like it's almost to the edge, right? I just scoot over a little bit more. And I hold one finger down and then I just place it down to make sure that it's okay. And then it's down. See, this is a little bit too far over, if you can see. But that's okay. I mean, no one's going to be like, oh, it's too far over. No one will know that it's like that unless they're a card maker. Most people look at the cards and like, oh, that's nice, and throw them away, right? Or put them in their card collection. So if we have this, you know, some people put their cards on their mantles, some don't. Some put them in little keepsakes and books and things like that. And other people look at the stuff, see if it's any money inside, and trash it. All of my non-crafty friends probably throw the stuff I give them away unless it's money or food or something like that. And then I feel like all my crafty friends probably say, oh, I could take this apart and do something with it. Or, you know, keep it as is and put it in one of their little books that they create. So I'm doing the same exact technique. This time I want to push it a little bit closer to the edge because I feel like if I don't, I'm going to run into the same problem. I'm just looking here to see, and there we go. I'm going to turn it over, burnish it down. The reason why I don't like burnishing from the front is I'm always worried that something has gotten on here and I'm going to smudge all my work. And even though it's just paper, I do not want to start over at the end of creating something. All right, so we're on our last step, and I'll tell you this right now. You know I do not believe in priming stamps. I tell you that all the time. But for sentiment stamps, I have started to just stamp them out a few times because I feel like if you don't, like you see how I just put 2 little globs of ink right there, you see how it looks? And if I was to go and say, oh yeah, this is saturated enough, it will not come out right. So I just do that a few times and then I just stamp it off. I mean, I'm not going to be terribly upset that it did not stamp out properly. And I always, sometimes when you look at the stamp, like this looks very solid, right? It looks very, very solid. And that is always my hope, that it's going to come out like the picture shows it. Sometimes it doesn't do that. So I'm just going to bring the ink to the stamp. Now you will see me flip-flop in between, just because, you know, the stamps are fairly decently cut down to size, so I'm not worrying about any cast off or runoff on the ink. And so you see how these two didn't stamp out that great. I do not want that on my card. So I just do this a few dozen times until I'm satisfied with how the image looks. Now, I bet you're thinking, Brandy, how can you tell how the image looks? You stamped 1,000 of them. Look, it doesn't look good yet. So I'm going to keep going. When it gets to a good point, I'll come back. All right, so we're at that point that I think I'm okay with how the stamp is going to look. Now, in this process, be very careful. Don't stamp your image upside down and don't get the ink on your fingers. So with this technique, it's not, I didn't create it, right? I'm just applying some ink to the ink pad, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just press down very hard. Now you could use something underneath there, which would be a better idea than what I just did. I'm just applying pressure, and there you go. Now I want to tell you one thing. This, you see that line in the P and the O and the A and all the letters? That's how the card is itself. It has that texture to it, so it's going to look like that. I'm just going to set it to the side because I feel like sometimes it doesn't dry very quickly. If I close it, then it's going to have an ink transfer on the top and the bottom, and you don't want that. And I just thought that having hope will give you courage would be a good sentiment to send to someone. You know, it says, hello, friend, and then it says, having hope will give you courage, right? So I'm just applying some more pressure down on my ink, on my stamp, and I'm just applying that same technique that I just showed you here. I never really tried to make it perfectly in the center because every time I do that, I don't get it perfectly in the center. So I don't want to create a false sense of security or hope that I'm going to get it in the center and then it doesn't get in the center and then I'm upset about it. Because, you know, sometimes I feel like as a crafter, as a maker, right, creator, you can be too hard on yourself for stuff that's, I mean, I think anyone that receives a card, unless you're purchasing a card, if you're purchasing things, then yeah, you can be a little bit more uptight about certain things. But when you're not purchasing it and you're gifting it out, I think most people, very, very appreciative of what you have taken the time to do. And especially if they know that you're a crafty person and you give them something, they're not going to be like, oh, you stamped a cricket, unless you have critiques. If you say, critique my card, then get ready, you know, stand by. It could be the most perfect thing, but when you tell someone to critique the card, they're going to find that one sequin that's a milliliter off, right? Some people do. Some people go, it's perfect. Like if you was to get this to a non-crafter, they'd be like, oh, this is such a nice, I'm not talking about my card in general. Specific, I'm talking about in general. You know, they'd be like, oh, this is so cool. This is so whatever, you know. This has a little bit of dirt on it, which I really don't like. And that's why I had stopped buying the cards from there, because they had looked like grime or something on them on the inside. And that was another reason why I actually started cutting them up and using them in other projects. But I did buy some from Michael's, you know, last year sometime because the card was so pretty. Just plain, like with decorative flowers and things like that. And I've been using those up too. And, you know, once I'm completely finished, which it will take me a lifetime, long time to do that, I will probably not buy any more. Only because I don't need to buy anymore. I have card blanks that I can make myself. But I have a lot to use up. And if I see some on sale for like $2 or $3, you never know, I may get some. So, but currently, that is not the plan. All right, so this is the card we made for Subscription Thursday. using the Unity Stamp May 2017 kit. It says, "Hello, friend." And then on the inside, it says, "Having hope will give you courage." I hope that you've enjoyed this entire process. I want to say thank you all for watching. And until next time, happy crafting.